Fani Willis. And my question is, shout out to J Ben, I'm going to read that super chat shortly. My question is, do you guys believe in your heart? Do you guys believe in your heart? Hold on, what happened to my camera right there? Why'd my camera disappear? All right, there we go. Do you guys believe in your heart that this administration, my mute button is undefeated, I'm going to get it together one day, Jeremy Rogers, that this administration is corrupt? That this administration is corrupt. So corrupt, in fact, that they are willing to put their lives, their political careers on the line in order to have some form of election interference. Check it out. Look at me. Check it out, y'all.
Well, former Georgia special prosecutor Nathan Wade is now admitting to several meetings with White House officials during his time on the state's Trump case. Now, that's coming from a newly released transcript of Wade's deposition on Capitol Hill last week. Wade resigned from the Trump probe back in March after his romantic relationship with Fulton County DA Fani Willis came to light. Mike Emanuel is live in Washington with the latest details. Mike.
Emily, good afternoon. In his meeting with lawmakers and congressional staff, Nathan Wade's memory was a little fuzzy. Wade was asked, quote, did the interview with D.C. White House, to your recollection, involve anyone from the Department of Justice? Answer, I don't recall. On another matter, Wade was a little more clear when he was asked, quote, and did anyone in the White House direct you or, to your knowledge, anyone else at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office to file charges against Donald Trump? Answer, no, ma'am. Wade was on Capitol Hill 1 week ago for that questioning. In May 2022, Wade billed for a meeting with the White House counsel's office at his hourly rate of $250. But when asked about it, Wade could not detail the purpose of the meeting. Wade used some version of I don't recall more than 30 times when questioned by lawmakers and staff during closed-door testimony. The House Judiciary Chairman says Wade's 2022 visit to Washington sounds very political.
You got the whole thing with Nathan Wade, taxpayer money going to Nathan Wade. He was traveling to Washington, meeting with the DOJ, the White House, the January 6th committee, all in this effort to go after President Trump.
Wade left the Trump case due to his romantic relationship with Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Willis warned Wade against revealing case details to lawmakers, noting the risk of harming ongoing legal proceedings. The newly released transcript says Wade met with Biden administration staff on at least 2 occasions during the Fani Willis probe into former President Trump. Emily?
Mike, thank you. Harris, what are voters?
I want to share something with you guys really quickly because I remember this. And before everybody started getting on this train of, really getting involved because they have to gear up for election season and stuff like that, I want to share something with you guys really quickly. This was back months and months and months ago, right? And it was just swept under the rug. And now that all of this is starting to come back out, there is a White House log. This is public information. This is not something that I'm making up. This is not my opinion. Fani Willis is right there. Fani Willis attended the White House. She testified under oath and said, no, I didn't visit the White House prior to, but her and Andre Dickens, who is the mayor of Atlanta, interesting. So then, a couple months later, they just so happen to file these charges against Trump, these 91 charges in Georgia. Met with the vice president, visitee, last, V. POTUS. It's right there.
Or can you confirm whether or not Ms. Willis or Mr. Wade were coordinating with the Biden White House in the course of this investigation and prosecution?
The discovery, they've got, a lot of our discovery involves the January 6th. A lot of what we have in discovery is the same stuff that other places have. So they had to have gotten it from somewhere. And they also, they read a lot of the testimony. They played testimony in the special purpose grand jury. So, I don't know how they got all of that, but they got it somehow. And then, there's one of the other things I did was I did a open records for the White House access, and we had records that Ms. Willis and the mayor of Atlanta were at meeting with the vice president.
Okay, and so this is the access history. How does that work? The White House keeps records of anybody that comes in and has any kind of official meeting, for sure?
Yes, and my understanding is it's highly regulated who can access the White House, and so you have to apply in person or apply ahead of time, and then they give you a time when you make the appointment, and they give you a time when you're allowed to be in and when you have to be out by, and they track you. And I mean, that makes sense. They don't want anybody lingering in the White House, but they keep that. And so they're called WAVE records, I believe is what they're called, and I'm not sure what that's an acronym for, but they're publicly available. They're open records.
And this record that's shown on the screen shows Fani Willis was a visitor with V. POTUS. I presume that's Vice President of the United States?
Yes, it was.
And what was the date of that back in, was that February sometime of 23?
February 28, 2023.
Is that before the indictment?
Yes.
Okay. Any further explanation of why Ms. Willis was meeting with the Vice President of the United States?
No. I know Dexter Bonds, and I believe that's the same one that Mr. I think it's Dixon, the mayor of Atlanta, was also.
Why would the mayor of Atlanta and the Fulton County District Attorney be meeting at the White House on a side lawn? Why would they fly up there to meet with the VP, the Vice President of the United States of America, who just happened to be Kamala Harris, on the side lawn in a tent? That's where it say the room is at. On the side lawn in a tent. So nobody got their investigation skills on? Nobody got their, or is everybody scared? Should I be scared? Should I not be rehashing this 2 weeks to the election? On a side lawn in a tent. That's what the logs say. That's what the public information logs say. Prior to filing charges, these wild charges against Trump in Georgia. Now Nathan Wade is under duress because we all know what happened with that. A lot of y'all not familiar with it? I don't know. Let me know. Now Nathan Wade is being subpoenaed, and now he's having to testify because somehow, some way, he met with the Department of Justice and he billed them $250 an hour, but he don't remember why he just so happened to be at the White House. I don't recall. Hey, why'd you meet with the Department? Why'd you go to the White House? I don't remember. I don't recall. What? Who don't know how they ended up at the White House and what the conversation was about? You don't know? You confused? You don't recall? Man, this stinks to high heaven. This stinks to high heaven. Honest to God. And for anybody to sit here and tell me that they can't follow along and understand what was going on, that's insane. Let's get back to it.
What's to make of this?
It's interesting because they're both so very different, right? I mean, you've got Fani Willis and you've got her lover, and the only two things that they have in common was take down Trump, and they tried to do that. I'm not so sure that the Justice Department shouldn't have jumped in here early and taken a real good look at this. Because I want to know, is this happening in other places around the country? And with him now bringing forth information so late in the game, why didn't we know this before? And why is everything always right before an election? I mean, it's important to know what is going on. But was this legal warfare? Is that really close to, really truthful? It looks like it was, in fact. It looks like we could have used these receipts a while ago. So why is the DOJ involved? This is a presidential candidate that this had to do with. Which, by the way, I mean, we wouldn't get that attention from the DOJ, but shouldn't somebody who's running for the country?
So, Kaylee, to Harris's point, we need answers, but frankly, none were revealed. That's the whole point. There weren't receipts. He says, I don't know why I was having these meetings at the White House. I billed for it, but I can't articulate why I was there. So the question is it incompetence? Is it fraud? And is it an absolute travesty of the justice system? To Harris's point, this is a presidential candidate.
Yes.
And no matter what, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are so many questions. Nathan Wade, I'm not obviously in his head, thankfully, but Nathan Wade, I mean, you have this May 2022 meeting with the White House counsel's office, and you build 200.
So wait, check it out. Nathan Wade had a May 2022 meeting too. Oh, man.
$150 per hour, and you don't know what the meeting's about. You don't have a record of the meeting. I mean, you know this, Emily. In law, when you have billable hours, you write with some level of specificity what you did during the hour. It's not just trip to D.C., pay me X number of dollars. It's trip to D.C. to discuss X, Y, or Z. So he didn't keep any detailed notes, it seems. Then you go to November 2022, where he does not remember why he met with the White House. This is a local Georgia prosecutor. When you meet with the White House, let me tell you, I mean, I did it at the federal level when I was outside of the White House just working on the campaign. You remember why you meet with the White House. It's a huge deal. And for a local Georgia prosecutor, this is a massive deal. But his memory evades him. And I just remember his interview with Caitlin Collins, where a consultant had to step in and stop him from answering something. And they had to go confer to the side. And then he comes back. Not in his head, but I don't know why he doesn't have a memory of this.
Your point about the billing, you know, Kennedy, there are that specificity is required for ethics reasons. So you do not just say meeting. You actually do have to, within 30 days, specify exactly to the 0.6 of a minute or the 0.6 of a quarter hour, what exactly were you doing? So that was a long time ago. Those notes were certainly reflected in those business accountings. We also know that now he had to take a racketeering class before joining the prosecution team. The caliber dealing with a presidential candidate, to me, seems shocking that you would pull in an attorney that needs a course on what to do.
Well,
and there were a couple issues here that struck me, and that was one, the fact that he had such a hard time with his memory, but he could remember down to the semicolon what he was talking about and those billable hours notes, but couldn't remember if he went to the White House. Like, I remember when I went to the White House, it was the summer before my senior year. I was a Girls Nation, and I was in the choir, and George H.W. Bush landed on Marine One and got out, and we all sang the Star Spangled Banner. It was one of the best memories of my entire childhood. So I remember that. He would remember that. And I worry that he has to go see Joe Biden's Alzheimer's specialist if he's having such a difficult time remembering these massive events in his career. And
Listen, this is how you know. If you ever want to find out whether or not people are biased, look at Eric D. All right? Look at Eric D., the chat villain. We love him now. We love him because he's one of us. He's still a part of the co-host of this show. But look at Eric D. And Eric D., instead of objectively being able to call out the BS when you see it on both sides, he can't. He can't hide his bias towards wanting Trump to lose versus holding this administration accountable for what is clearly, in my opinion, what I believe to be election interference and retaliation. So when she stands up on an interview, and we got her coming up next, when she stands up on an interview and she says, oh my God, he's going to be on a revenge tour, why would he have to need revenge to you? Who does he need to get revenge about or to? What did you do to somebody that would then put them on a revenge tour? Interesting.